Hello, I'm Trevor Lai in Shanghai. To expand in China, global agency networks are trying to work with local companies. It's not always easy. Local companies don't operate like multinationals and have different views on marketing and branding. Some have a poor reputation for paying the bills and honoring contracts. But building a business in China requires building these relationships with local companies. We'll examine these issues, and our own PT Black will have a thought or two on connecting the dots between China's tradition of leadership and helping companies grow in China today. But first, we'll speak with Viveca Chan, CEO and Chairman of We Marketing Group. Viveca, your agency specializes in working with Chinese companies. What are some of the biggest challenges that you face when you're working with them?
Okay, first of all, actually just to correct a little bit, we specialize in the China market. So yes, we work with a lot of Chinese companies, but actually a third of our business are international companies. So actually work with both, but our concentration is China market. Working with local companies, I think the major difference is that Chinese companies are very quick. They expect you to be very fast in terms of speed to market. They're looking for agencies that are not just advertising agencies, because very often they may not have a full marketing team. And they expect you to almost play a role in their marketing. So very often when we work with Chinese companies, we're almost part of the team. We help them with the positioning. We help them with even suggestions on products and on like how to build a total brand experience, etc. So you may get involved with them in a much bigger way.
And do you think they understand how to build brands, or is that something that you have to educate them as their marketing partner?
Actually, the spectrum is from here to here. So it's kind of difficult to generalize, but overall, now we have a bias sample because the people who come to us are those who already know that I need to build a brand. So they are maybe overall generally above average. But I would say overall, they may not exactly know how to build a brand, but they certainly know, they still have the desire. They certainly have the need. You don't have to tell them that you need to build a brand, why you need to build a brand. Otherwise they won't come to us. But in terms of how, they may not have the total process, but I think overall they do have a pretty good concept. As I said, the spectrum maybe those are more sophisticated and those are less sophisticated. So we actually work with both. Right. And you know, some are so sophisticated that I think they have a very good sense of the market. They know already that, you know, all these terminologies because they've read all the books and they've done it all, and they're pretty sophisticated. They're pretty sophisticated marketers, and some they're really like, you know, they know the need, but it's only to them brand is just awareness, and then you really need to educate a lot. So I would say the spectrum is pretty spread out.
And when you say the clients that come and they find you because they're ready to start working on their brand building, how are they finding you, and how do you deal with building your sort of new business network with Chinese companies?
A lot of them are from, one is people that I probably already know, because you know, the clients leave and they go to other companies and so on. So it's really through a lot of the network that we already have. So usually these are clients who may have worked with us before, or they have friends recommend us to them, etc. And usually I think that very often clients look at successful campaigns and, oh, I want to be like that. So we have a few clients who know they found the agency who have done those campaigns. So for example, one of our very famous, I guess, pre-successful campaign is the work we've done for Rowe, this new brand of car for Psych. And a lot of them say, oh, we want to be like them. So they would come to us. So I think there's a lot of really important to build kind of well-known and successful case studies, as well as a very strong network locally.
And you mentioned that a large percentage of your business is still dealing with international companies. How do Western companies and Chinese companies differ in terms of how they operate?
I think that, first of all, Western companies are more structured. So they have already pretty set up teams that have very defined job specs. So you know, this is the level a marketing director will get involved in, a brand manager, and so on. So it's actually easier for us because you understand the kind of the layering and how to deal with them. So once you know the internal structure, then you can liaise with them quite easily. The Chinese companies usually are less structured. So very often, the boss, who is the entrepreneur, is still at the end of the day the decision maker. So for Chinese companies, I think it is really important for you or for the agency to have direct access to the decision maker and to really understand what he needs to do. Now, you still have to work with the team, but very often, as I said, because the decision is less structured.
How do you pave that way for that direct access? Because that is one of the challenges that is often raised. How do you pave that road?
I think that very often, actually, if we don't have the direct access, we may not work with that company. And I think that very often you have to earn your way because they are very busy. They don't want to waste their time. So if they feel that, it is not something that they're just spending money, which is just do media, do some creative, which is not necessarily what they're most interested in. But you can have a lot of input in terms of helping them drive their business. They'll be very interested to talk to you. So we work with a lot of local entrepreneurs, and we actually, as I said, it's really like part of their marketing team. We give them ideas as, oh yes, I haven't thought about this before. Because entrepreneurs, in fact, they really want people to talk to them. What's always happened is that they start the companies are like this. They work with a group of people. Eventually, this entrepreneur is like here because he's progressing very quickly. But his team may be still here. So he also always wanted people to kind of stimulate his thinking, bounce back what he has to say. So working with us, I think they think, oh, we bring them some new perspective, particularly international perspective. I haven't thought of this before, stimulate the next wave of thinking. We would suggest, no, you shouldn't do this, you should do this. We give very specific recommendations, as I said, on positioning, on new product ideas, or no, you've got to do this. And very often, internally, they may not have a voice that would challenge the boss. And in fact, they may like the challenges because that helps them improve. And as a third party, we're very open. No, you shouldn't do this. This is not correct. So I think that if you show your value, you don't talk gibberish. And they find that, yes, you can actually help me grow my business, then I think they're very, very willing to listen. And an example is I work with a real estate client, and I knew him now for 10 years. And he started with very low-cost housing for young people, like 50 square meters. And now he's moving into luxury apartment because the land he's bought, now it's got so expensive. So now, and he's thinking, okay, I'm a medium-sized company. How do I do luxury and compete with all these big guys? So he's got to build brand, and he understands how to do it. He's got to differentiate. So what he thinks we can add is we give him a lot of ideas in terms of, real estate is about concepts. So here are some concepts you can look at. And actually we're doing one that's very, very special right now with kind of an East meet West idea. Using, the China Qinghua, which is this blue and white porcelain, and using that, which is from Jingdezhen, it is very Chinese, very China, using that as a concept for buildings. So, I think these clients are very willing to listen. Another client that we have is called, it's a car rental company, and we give him a lot of ideas in terms of what he should be doing, etc. So I think that once you prove that, the conversation you have is very worthwhile, they will listen and they will have a lot of time for you, but that respect has to be earned.
And do you think that local companies actually respect and perhaps demand more of the time of leaders such as yourself? In your position as chairman and CEO, do you find that you have to be a bit more hands-on with local clients and that they're perhaps expecting you to be more involved than some of your international clients who might be very comfortable working with some of your management level? But do the local clients sometimes just call you directly and feel like they're getting better advice because they're talking to the chairman and CEO?
I think in a way, yes. I think local clients demand a lot more senior level attention because, as I said, it's kind of rank to rank. So if you're talking to the entrepreneur, he's a business person. He's talking to you about business. So even we specialize in communication marketing. So it's how this built business. So you have to have kind of really strong business sense. And I have to say, like usually account directors level do not yet have the maturity. It look at the market as a business. But fortunately, what we have is just not me. We have a very strong senior team. All our MDs, Beijing, Shanghai, they have lots of years in business experience. So they feel very comfortable talking to them as well. And I think clients, what they want is, I think they respect a lot of what I have to say, but we really would divide up the clients. So we have this is what is good. I think we have a team of about 5 very senior people, and we each concentrate on different clients. So that gives us a lot more time to be able to concentrate in certain industries, in certain clients, and also comes from what you know. For example, we have our Beijing and Shanghai managing director who are very good in automotives, and they know everything about automotives because I read, the car journals. I know it just as a marketer, but I'm not a car person. But I would know a lot about fashion. I would know a lot about skincare and those type of things. So I think it also comes from your personal interests. And because you have those interests, you also have those outside connections apart from advertising that you can help the clients with. So, I think we have a team, and yes, they are very demanding on the senior team's time and contribution. But we enjoy it. We learn a lot from each other. I mean, we learn from them as much as they learn from us.
Right, but from a business standpoint, I mean, for those who run their own agencies and know that they have to grow and they have to grow the bottom line, how do you train this expertise into your people so that you can actually grow? Because if it's limited to yourself or your 5 great senior partners, there's still a real constraint on how much you can grow that business with local clients. So, I mean, as their demands increase and as you do a great job and they love and they want to give you more work, if they continue to demand that attention from a few senior people, don't you find that kind of constrains your growth?
This is a challenge. I mean, frankly speaking, having a very senior team in the agency is always a challenge. So what we have done is that we are already starting to go quote our 2nd generation. So in fact, I just quote Shanghai, we have a very strong director of client service, and he has very strong business sense. He can actually handle now a lot of local clients pretty much on his own. And I think it's 2 things. One is, yes, you actually can go and recruit people who have started their business, they also have their sense and in the company. But at the same time, we also want them to have the same agency culture, because at the same time, we're not just selling like individual business person. We're selling we as a company who have certain ways and practices. So all the because our senior team, we've worked together for over 10 years, so we're very much, we know our working way. We work the same way. We're molded the same way. But then with the new hires, they work for a period with us very closely. They kind of know, quote unquote, at least the we way and the we practices. So we want to at least ensure what we offer is still a company offer. It's not an individual way of doing things. And that will have to take time. And we already have 5 years, so I think we already have a pretty good 2nd generation. And there's always still different types of work. I mean, you don't have to come up with marketing strategies all the time. So it is more in the planning stage. At the end, we still have a lot of executional work, creative work, advertising work that we still have to do. So, you kind of divided the job and you have a team to do different things.
Well, thanks, Viveca. And here's PT Black with a thought or two about China's tradition of leadership and what it means for companies today.